And it was that moment. It was like, what would it be like without you? And I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine. So it was really special to have you there, and we're really, really grateful that you were. I mean, there's not enough praise to give for what we got to go through with you. So,
Sophie, what are your recollections around the staff, the support you received from Lawrence, the support you got from me? You know, you had some amazing nurses, Lexi, Laura, I can't remember the third nurse, you know, your doc. Is there anything you wanted to share there?
Overall, incredible. I was talking to Lawrence about this morning. I think the biggest thing, and he'll tell his version of the story, but I remember it. There was one point where Ursula stepped out of the room because things had changed a little bit in our delivery and the labor process, and so I kind of freaked out slightly. But Ursula left to go update the moms who were in the waiting area, and you know, I remember getting a little more emotional, a little more stressed out because our plans had changed a little bit. And I was talking to Lawrence, I was like, you know, I'm worried, I don't know if it's the right thing, I think I want an epidural. And I remember feeling way more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, and he can just say his side of the story, but looking back on it, it was very much like he was able to really be like my teammate, my partner, and I could like have emotion and be vulnerable. But then when you were there in the room, you were more my coach. And I was like, okay, I gotta do this. Coach is saying to do this. I come from an athlete background, so that really responded well to me, that I could have a teammate and a coach in the room, as opposed to him having to play both roles. It was amazing being able to look at him and be like, this is hard, this is scary, like I need, like, I love you.
Yeah, we're trucking through, come on. We're running the race, we're not stopping now.
Yeah,
so.
And then having you there to be like, we're gonna do this, this is gonna happen. I was like, okay, I can do that. So it was amazing having the dichotomy of that. And I don't know, it's hard to think about not having it.
And I saw it. When you left the room, you know, let's now switch to Lawrence's perspective in that same scenario. And what I saw was you left the room and panic set in. There was a level of,
It's okay, Sophie.
I'm scared right now, and it's like, it's fine, you know, she just stepped out, you know, we're pushing through this, and again, the teammate, but the coach left. Now it's like, and that was less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That you were
Really?
gone. It was less than 10 minutes.
12 minutes max.
Yeah.
I was very conscientious of not spending too much time out of the room.
And in that time, her entire mental shifted, and it was a little more fearful. And the moment you were back in the room, all right, how we doing? What are we doing? Okay, well, we're gonna change it up. We're gonna do this, and it was right into it, and it was gone.
Yeah.
It just dissipated. So
Sweet.
that's the difference. I mean, to know in that moment, right? Oh, what's it like when the nurses aren't there?
Yeah.
What's it like when the doula's not there?
You had that.
Holy cow! And I think we're pretty strong, self-sufficient people. You know, I don't feel like we have attachment issues or anything of that nature, right? Like, really, just looking at it, this was a first-time scenario that neither of us had been through, and to have somebody who's, you know, delivered 1,500 babies next to your side, giving you the coaching, it's priceless.
Now, you were in a unique situation because your mother's also a doula.
Right.
And your mother has worked with BYD for a number of years and
Yes.
recently retired. So this was not a new concept to you specifically.
I'd heard, you know, honey, watch out for the placenta on the back seat, you know, growing up. And so, no, I definitely, all of the terminology, all of the language was familiar. So had an edge there.
And being a medic.
Right, yeah. Being a medic, background in the military, being a medic, the understanding of what was going on was all there. So my composure was there, but never dealing with this and my wife being in pain and being in a uncomfortable for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
That was the unknown.
Yeah.
You know, how do you support somebody? You feel helpless sitting there not knowing what you can do. If you weren't there, I would have been like, all right, we're moving to the ball, we're doing this, we're changing it up, we're changing positions. And what you're really good at, is changing the focus, changing what you get into a rhythm, right? And you get comfortable with it, and then that pain starts creeping in again. And when you see it, you're like, all right, we're moving this way. And then you refocus attention elsewhere. So a bit of a distraction and changing what you're focusing on the whole way through. I mean, she was getting through for 6 hours.
Yeah, she had a beautiful labor. She listened perfectly to the pushing coaching. The doc and I thought that was pretty seamless with the nurses and the docs
Your
because they
integration.
never.
Your integration, it was like choreographed, watching a dance. It's seriously the ballet. Like they practice and practice and practice and practice, and then the show. And thousands of people get to watch that show. That's what it was like watching you interact with the doctors. It was choreographed. You said, "Hey doc, do you mind if I can all right, Sophie, we're moving. We're going to move you. We're going to center you on the bed. We're going to get you upright about 40 degrees. Doc, is this okay?" Doc looks over and she goes, "Yeah." Thank you, Ursula. And the doctor, it was just, they just did this dance around each other, choreographed.
And the nurses as well. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a really seamless, from my perspective as well.
It was.
Sophie, had you ever heard of a doula before?
Before
Lawrence?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of midwives. I don't think I ever heard of a doula.
Okay.
So that was a little bit new to me. I know my mom, I thought she had a midwife for my
did.
youngest brother.
Yes.
And she had him at home. So I knew that existed and happened. I didn't know what the extent of it was, and especially more of that doula role as opposed to the midwife role. But again, looking back on it and being finally there and actually hearing so many moms saying like, you're alone for most of it. Again, looking back on it, granted my sense of time was a little off for some of it.
Always.
But looking back on it, it would have been very different and I think much more challenging, not as seamless. And especially, talking about his medical background, I actually like that I think you could be a little bit more of like my partner, my husband, as opposed to the medic in the room. Because I know if we didn't have Ursula, you would have been more in that medic coach mode. And I would have loved.
That's the reason we went with Ursula and not my mom.
Yes.
Because we wanted her to be mom mode, and she would have been there professionally. And how do you step out of your profession for your kids?
It's hard to play both roles and do
Right.
both roles well.
Right.
And this allowed her to be in grandma mode.
Yeah.
And at the same time know you guys were being taken care of.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
hence you hired a doula to come from out of state to be with you.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. I didn't know if you were willing to leave the stomping grounds in Arizona to come up, but that was really cool that you were able to
It
travel.
didn't help that it was cold and snowy for a little bit here.
It was unusual. In May, we typically have 70-degree weather, and we definitely took you out of your comfort zone.
That's all right.
So-
Amazon delivered everything I needed that I